Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. You, right there. I know that you used to love reading when you were younger. You used to read loads, and me too. I actually carried on reading though, so not really like the crowd. No, I'm joking. Anyway, today I'm going to tell you my top 10 books that literally are the best books you'll ever read and will make you love reading again. Like, I can guarantee if you have taste, you will love reading again after this. And you've probably seen all these on like booktube, BookTok, because I'm a bit basic when it comes to reading. I like what's popular, so sorry if that's not good enough. But yeah, I'm just going to get into it and show you 10 books that will, I wouldn't say change your life, but change your life. Okay, so book number 1 is A Court of Thorn and Roses, but more like A Court of Thorn and Roses, the series. This is my all-time favourite books. No joke, I've read this series 8 times now. 8 times, and they're hefty books, like, but you just won't get anything to beat these books, okay? I can't stress enough, if you do take anything from this video, please read this series. Now, I know it's like, everyone's like, it's overhyped. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's so good. Like, Sarah J Maas is my favourite author. This book, yeah, it's amazing. But when you get onto number 2, obviously it comes as like you have to read number 1 for number 2. But this book, stop it, because it's so good. So this is my number 1 that you have to read. And trust me, if you do anything from this video, please read this book. And just a brief synopsis. Basically, I'm going to stop holding them up now. Basically, it's about a girl called Feyre, who is a human girl who has to cross the wall into Prithium, which is like this fairy land, and loads of things happen. She goes into a house with someone called Tamlin, who's like this really like handsome, like Beauty and the Beast type thing, which is what the first book was based off. But then you meet like Rhysand and Night Court, and like you go into it, and I don't want to give any spoilers, but it's just, I have invested so much of my life into these books. Okay, so most of my books are like YA, like either contemporary or fantasy, and most of these are contemporary now because that's just my favourite to read, except Sarah J Maas. So the next one we've got is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. Now, I read this last summer and I got through it so quickly. It's a really good book. They're not in order now, apart from number 1 was the one I showed you. And it's basically like a murder mystery. And it's about a girl called Pippa who has to basically solve this murder. She doesn't have to, but she's doing it for like a project. And it's just really interesting. Like, I don't usually like murder mysteries, but this is really interesting. And like, you meet loads of people, there's like love interests. So it keeps it very interesting. So if you have not read this, and there's a sequel out, I haven't read the sequel, but this was amazing. Like, you know, books you just can't put down. That was one of these. Okay, the next book we've got is The Selection, and obviously The Selection series by Kira Cass. And if you haven't heard of this, you're obviously not on BookTube. It's popular probably about 3 or 4 years ago now, like quite a long time ago, but it's always remained in my like top 10. I got through this series so quick, and I've read it over a few times again, and I've also listened to the audiobook on YouTube, which is really good as well. And it's basically about this girl called America, oh my god, my eye, and a guy called Prince Maxon, and there's like 20 girls or whatever, and they all have to go to the castle and try and win the prince's heart, and they're all like quite, there's different like levels of person you can be, so like 1 to 5, and they're all quite near to like royalty, and America is one of the only ones who is from like a higher, I want to say faction, I know it's a Hunger Games talk, but like a higher, I forgot the name, but like further out. And she basically has to like win over the prince, and she also has another love interest who it's like illegal for her to be with now, and she makes friends, and obviously it's like a bit beefy here and then, and it's obviously a really nice romance. So, and it's not too big, it's easy to get through, so this is a good one to start with if you want to get back into reading. Okay, another Sarah J Maas one. Now this is Sarah J Maas's like first adult book, I believe, and I read this at the start of the year when it came out. It's huge. It's Crescent City, House of Blood and Earth. House of Earth and Blood, and it's really big, but it's amazing. Again, I love everything Sarah J Maas writes. It's just got everything you want. It's got like romance, friendships, like troubled past, like everything you want is in these books. And this is more adult, and it's much more of a slow burn romance, so like you're there the whole time, like, are they going to be together, are they not, you don't know. And that's what I really liked about it. It would probably be in my top 5 books that I've read, and she's writing a second one, so definitely get on this while it's still new. It's about this guy called Hunter who's like an angel, and this girl called Bryce who's like a party girl, has like lost one of her best friends, and it's all a bit, you know, juicy. So yeah, definitely read this one. Okay, there's another Sarah J Maas one. I'm going to leave that for a bit, and I'm going to go with All of the Above by Gina Dawson. Now, I'm not usually into Gina Dawson's books. However, this book was really good. It's basically about a group of teenagers, and you meet them, and they're all dealing with problems, and this girl's like looking into her sexuality and like coming to grips with who she is. She meets like a really nice group of friends who are all a bit like weird, to be honest, and she falls in love with a few people, or 2 people to be precise. One of them a girl, one of them a boy, and she's never been in love with a girl before. So she moved to this new place, and you basically get to go through her life, like meeting these new people and like what she goes through trying to fit in. So this is really good as well, not too long as well. And I don't know if you know what I mean, but like, you know when books are really floppy? It's like a really floppy book, and I like that. Okay, so I read this for the first time in like year 7, and I think it's one that you could read all ages, to be honest. So if you're a bit younger, this is definitely a good one to go for, but if you're a bit older as well, like I've reread it and I still loved it. And obviously you've probably watched the film The Maze Runner, but I kid you not, the film is amazing, but the book, I read it before the films came out because I was really young, and they were just so good. I remember like being really addicted and thinking for the first time, wow, like I love this, and I liked it so much. I created an Instagram like fan account for Maze Runner, and I would like do all like funny book memes about Maze Runner and things like that. So if that says anything, if you haven't heard of Maze Runner, basically what happens is a group of boys live in this glade which is like controlled by this company, and this boy called Thomas goes in, and you find out like he's changing loads of things, and it's like they all have to work out what. And you've definitely seen the film, which is why I'm not giving probably an explanation. But if you have watched the film and not read the book, I definitely urge you to read the book series, because there's this one, then Scorched Child, Death Cure, Kill Order. I definitely advise to read it because it's so good. So okay, let's go back to Miss S.J. Maas. So obviously you've definitely heard of Throne of Glass. However, if you haven't given it a go, here's another person telling you, give it a go. It's basically a book series, probably got about 6 or 7 books now. Yeah, I think it's got 7 books now. Could have 8 actually. It could have 8 books. And it follows Selena Sardorfian, who's basically like an assassin, and the king like enters her into this competition. And again, it's just like everything Sarah J Maas does amazingly, like love, romance, like twists, turns, a lot of fighting, if that's your thing. I prefer Court of Thorn and Roses because it's less fighting, but this is more like war-based. Not war-based, it's got not a lot to do with war, but it's more than Court of Thorn and Roses. But this book is still amazing, and the series is still amazing. Okay, so the next book is more of like a high school like story. Definitely you can read at any ages. It's like really interesting, this story. It's like not like heard of that much in books. So basically it's The List, and every year a list is printed and given to everyone in the high school. And basically every year a list is given out with the ugliest and the prettiest person in the year, and the story is told from everyone's different perspective and what it means, because every year when the list comes out, everyone's like, oh no, like I hope I'm not the ugliest, and like all the girls are like, oh, I really want to be the prettiest this year. No one knows who makes the list, and it basically tells a story from every single girl's perspective that's been picked, so the ugly and the pretty, and all their lies behind it and like what it does to their life. So one of the girls who was named the prettiest, just to give an example, is suffering with an eating disorder, and nobody knows, and she like uses this to keep like egging her on. So that's one of the stories. And then another one is the new girl who's come, and she's been named the prettiest, and all the girls in her year are a bit like funny about it. Again, the girl that was named the ugliest is like dealing with a lot at home, and it like tips her over the edge, and it's just amazing to see like what happens because of this one list. Like it really like evolves in their life. I got through this one quite quickly. And finally, if you like classics, or if you don't like classics, The Great Gatsby is always a really, really good book to read, because it's a classic and obviously it's amazing, you can watch the film, but also it's just a really good book. I had to study it for English, but I did read it before that anyway, and it's really enjoyable. If you haven't heard of it, it's about this man named Gatsby, and like a guy called Nick who is telling Gatsby's story, and this girl Daisy who Gatsby's in love with, but also she has a husband, and it's about like parties and the lavish life, like what it's like on this island they live on, and there's like affairs and things like that. So definitely not one of my favourites, but if you want to read a classic, this is probably the best one I've read. And I just thought I'd chuck it in there just in case, so I kind of suit everyone's. But if you're trying to get back into reading, I wouldn't start with Gatsby, just because it's a bit of a harder read than some of the others I've shown you. So yeah, I really hope you've enjoyed. Sorry it wasn't like really unusual in giving you loads of different book recommendations that you might not have heard of, but I just thought I'd give like some easy reads and ones that are really like enjoyable and are famous for a reason, basically. So if you've enjoyed, please make sure you like and subscribe. I don't usually do videos like this, but if you have enjoyed it, then give it a thumbs up. I'll see you later.